Welcome back to another Batchguru update. By this time, Batchguru has been running in the production environment for about 2 weeks or so, and I got some feedback about how the new version works. So let's talk about, how it works and what problems I found, and just talk about some relativity stuff in general. Alright, so it's been deployed, and we have workspaces where the tools are installed. Everything works okay, but there were a few problems that user reported to me. And one of them is if you're using one of the exporter tools and you specify an invalid path, the whole agent just shuts down, right? Something I didn't expect. So I had to check to see if the path is there, and if not, create it. But I didn't anticipate users putting in path information of a path that could not be created. And so one of the safety mechanisms I have in Batchguru is if agent does something and fairly drastic error happens, like a major error, then rather than just logging it and continuing, what it'll do is it will write out a log and it'll shut itself down. This way, if it's trying to do something bad, it's not going to keep trying and using up all the resources. So that's kind of safety system that I put in place so that if something really bad happens, it doesn't try to take the same job, do it again, crash, do it again, crash. If it crashes, it'll just write out the log and stay crashed until someone restarts it. So putting in a bad path caused that problem. What else? Again, export modules. I had some native files exporting without extension, which is kind of weird. So this is something I actually knew, but I forgot about. If you get data into relativity using processing engine, the table that stores native paths contain file name plus extension. However, if you load a dat file with native links, the native files are stored without the original extension. And so Batchguru was using that extension to figure out how to name the file at the export, which is like a backprod number plus the original extension, right? So we matched the native files. And so it had trouble doing that for documents that were loaded through RDC. So those things are taken care of. However, there's still one problem with deployment. All right, so if you will look here, you see how we have Batchguru and we have input field, destination fields, and then we have all the tools. However, if I go to another workspace right here, and I click on Batchguru here, you see this still has the config and time zone. These are the things I removed. Also, the order of tools is the old way. So the difference is in the previous workspace, I uninstalled application and then I reinstalled it. In this workspace, I did an upgrade. And what happens when you do an upgrade, I'm pretty sure relativity doesn't remove existing objects. So these two objects were part of an application of an old version. And when I push the new version in, it doesn't actually, since those objects are no longer part of the application, it doesn't know what to do with them. It sort of unassigns them. Well, I guess it leaves them in an application. But basically, if you remove an object from an application and then deploy the application, it will not remove that object from where you deploy it to, which I guess is a sort of a safety thing, right? With relativity things, like you don't want it to be deleting stuff that don't belong to that application anymore, but at the same time it causes these problems where old objects still hanging around. I don't really know the best way of handling that, because you could potentially hide like a malicious script in there, right? And it'll go and delete some extra stuff. But this isn't nice. And the other thing upgrade process didn't do is it didn't reorder these tabs. So if I go to my tabs, you see all these crazy tab orders, right? But if I go to where I manually did it, and I find my tabs here, you see how all my tools nice and ordered, because I organized, I put everything in the right order, but the tab order wasn't transferred with upgrade. So those are some of the things that require uninstallation and reinstallation. This is where I wish relativity had the bulk uninstall feature, where I could go to application from the library, and I say uninstall it from all these workspaces, and I don't have to do anything. This way it'll go, it'll validate components, and if the validation passes, just uninstall all the workspaces in one click. And then I can do the same thing and redeploy a new version. So that would have taken care of all these problems. That's kind of that. The one last problem to tell you about deals with multi-threaded export for text files. So that's not something I could replicate in a test environment, but it only happened in a production environment. Production environment is 10.3. I don't know if that's got anything to do with it. Maybe there are less resources available because there are more users, but the problem is sometimes the text export jobs would fail and you would have empty folders where text files supposed to be. And I was trying to track down an error and figure out what is going on, and the best error I could get is was just a generic error, like unable to complete or unable to perform something, and that's it. That's all I got from API. And of course I couldn't debug it because I couldn't replicate it in my programming environment. It only happened in production. So I don't know if it's a 10.3 issue where there are multiple jobs happening and trying to grab data from SQL server, or something else. So the workaround for that right now is I made text export single-threaded. That seemed to have resolved it. The other thing I can do is I can go directly to SQL Server as opposed to using API to extract text. So there are a few things I got to think about and see how I want to handle it. But that's one outstanding problem. And again, I don't know if it's 10.3 related because the test environment is Server 2021, and I've done a lot of testing and I have not had that problem. So not super sure what to do with that. Yeah, so that leaves the only problem that I need to figure out. Maybe at the batch setting, I should set like multi-threaded, single-threaded, and if multi-threaded doesn't work, you just switch it to single-threaded or something like that. Anyway, that's kind of where we are. I thought everything was awesome. I was like, test it, yeah, ship it, and my users quickly humbled me with saying, hey, look at this, look at that, and what about this and that. So a few things have been taken care of, and I think I'm okay now. I'm just gonna need to ponder that text export issue. And I still haven't worked on additional tools that need to go in. So I'll get to that later. And there is also a desktop version of Batchguru, which I will need to look into as well, because I want this to be like two sides to it. So desktop and built into relativity, because I think that's really cool. Some users are really going to appreciate desktop version because of how fast you can work with data. You can just go next, 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 next. You'll see that's coming up in the future. Anyway, thank you for checking out my update. See you in the next one.